Steve Weiss, I start with you today. Cramer says of the activity in the stock and the story around Facebook today, this time is different. This situation is no longer not at risk. He says that because time and time again, negative story equals no negative stock reaction. Clearly, this time may be different. Facebook shares are down significantly today. They have been throughout the morning. They are off the lows. You sold half of your position this morning, I'm told.
Yeah, I sold half first thing this morning. And frankly, I wouldn't have done it in reaction to today's news. I'm glad I did because it was at a higher price. But I've been thinking about selling for a while. If you recall, if you go back to October of last year, I'd sold my entire position and only re-entered in May of this year and missed a significant move, still making money in. Look, I have no idea if the whistleblower is right or wrong. It seems we're in an environment where everybody's guilty until proven innocent.
I don't know. The whistleblower has receipts. I mean, there's documentation of what the whistleblower said, right? So let's deal in fact,
I understand,
not fiction.
But well, we will deal in fact, and you haven't seen what the whistleblower has in her possession. You haven't seen the other side either. So we don't know what the facts are, Scott. But here's what I'd say. That doesn't matter in terms of the stock. What matters is that advertisers are going to look this, and they're going to say, no mas with Facebook. So they'll go elsewhere. TikTok's not the answer. Look, there's a lot of truth, obviously. We know it all. But I'm not sure, and I don't know the answer. Facebook has been the evil empire. That's been the perception, whether it's reality or not. We know that Mark Zuckerberg has been arrogant. So all that adds up to the fact that this is not something that you want to buy here. You want to wait to see how it turns out. My concerns had always been about this, about hearings and just a stream of bad news flow, and you're not going to get any good news flow out of this. So that's why I sold half. On a pop, I'll sell the other half.
The two biggest issues here, Joe, are what Cramer talked about this morning and Weiss references just now, whether advertisers turn away because in large part it's been a duopoly between Facebook and Google in terms of advertising. Do they go to Snap? Do they go to TikTok? Do they go to somewhere else? They must change the algos, said Jim Cramer. I will not support them until they do. What do we do? So many people on the show own the stock. Shannon owns it. Jason owns it. Weiss owns it. Joe, the Joe T owns it. Kerry owns it. Degas owns it. Pete owns it. John owns it. Brenda owns it. Jenny owns it. Sarat owns it. That in itself speaks to the broad level of support this company has enjoyed, regardless of multiple stories throughout the years that are certainly negative. The threat of regulation on Facebook, none of it. The stock's been Teflon. Is it different now?
I do think it is. And I wonder where this stock would be if it did not have Instagram. I think Instagram is one of the most powerful catalysts for Facebook. But advertisers will be taking a second look. I've not owned this stock personally for many, many years. I've never been a fan of the leadership. I've never been a fan of prioritizing some of the things that management seems to be doing at Facebook. So I do think it's different. I think if you hold the stock, you want to look at the technical formation. 315 is where the 200-day moving average sits. The Facebook stock price has not traded below that for the better part of the last 19 months. A challenge below there is going to lead to further deterioration. And understand, you're in a buyback blackout window, and a lot of the thesis surrounding Facebook was the ability for them to buy back their own stock. They can't do that right now.
Jason, you have a 3% position in the stock. The company is out today on CNBC on multiple programs thus far. Not Zuckerberg, not Sheryl Sandberg. The VP of Policy Content said on Squawk Box, any suggestion that we are trying to prioritize engagement bait is blatantly false. The global head of safety was just on. Facebook is always trying to do better and trying to do more. I'd crumble the paper up and throw it over my shoulder, but I have important notes on it, and I can't afford to do that. 3% position. Do you change the position today?
Yeah, so it's a good question, Scott. Obviously, yesterday, that interview in 60 Minutes was very damaging. I think what I would say about the stock and why I've always owned it is, they have 2.89 billion users. So they have a lot of presence. They have a lot of reach. I do think that there's always been headline risk with Facebook. This hurts the stock. I think this might be different here, but I think, for me, I'm just going to continue to watch it over the next couple of weeks and see where it heads. They have the cash flow, they have the IP, to make a change here, a meaningful change, and we'll see what they do. We'll see what they say and, where we go from here.